What's going on, everybody? My name's Dylan and I love cinema, and today we are doing something that I'm pretty excited for. We are going to be ranking every single Blumhouse movie I have seen. I got this idea from a YouTuber named Cody Leach, who is someone I watch pretty much daily at this point. He's got great content, better than mine. So if you need you need to get put onto like a movie channel, you need to go check out, go watch Cody Leach. This guy's awesome. And he did a Blumhouse ranking a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I want to do that. And I've been holding off on it because there was one movie that I really wanted to see before I did it, which was Megan. I finally seen it, so now we can do it. Granted, there's a lot of movies from Blumhouse I have not seen. I think Cody had seen over 80. I've seen 36. So I'm not as in-depth as he is, but I've seen a good amount. I mean, that's a good amount of movies. But yeah, we're just going to be going through them. I will tell you right now, there are no paranormal activities on here. Eventually I'm going to watch all of them and do watch all of them and rank them type thing like I did with Scream. I'm going to do it with all the major franchises. We'll get there. This is my second channel, but I want to keep uploading over here and build a little bit of a community of movie lovers because I love movies. But yeah, so we're going to be ranking every Blumhouse movie, and let's get to the tier list and see what we're working with here. As you can see, our tiers are Obsessed, Mikey Likey, I'm Split, I Dare You to Make a Better Movie, and this movie dropped. The thing about me, and you're going to realize this, I'm not very critical towards movies, so I don't even know if anything will go into the bottom category, because most movies I watch, I just go, that was fine, or I really like this. It's pretty rare I see a movie I dislike, and on here I don't know if there's any that I would say is like really, really bad. I just kind of wanted to come up with cool creative names for the categories. So starting off, we have, I believe this is the second most recent movie I've seen for Blumhouse, which is The Backrooms, also A24. I had to look up, but it said the Blumhouse was also part of this, so I'm counting it. And basically what The Backrooms is, it's Kane Parsons' directorial debut, and it's following a guy named Clark, and he's working in a crappy furniture store. And eventually he finds that there is a little void, I guess I could describe it, in the wall. And he no-clips into what we call the Backrooms, which is a huge, huge property. It's very big on like YouTube, TikTok, liminal stuff goes hard. I love the Backrooms property, so I was very, very excited for this movie. And I liked it for the most part. There's some issues I had with it. It kind of seemed like maybe they cut some things out to make the movie a little bit shorter. Things that I would have liked to see, like maybe him mapping out the back rooms and all those lovely things. I also would have liked to see a little bit more of the pool rooms, but I'm not going to harp on that too long because I'm satisfied with what we got. I thought the back rooms, as like where it was, looked really cool. Like they did a really good job with that. I thought the acting was pretty good. It just seemed like a lot of times there wasn't a whole lot going on, and I just wish... It was weird, though. Like, I'm happy it exists, and I wouldn't change a thing about it if it didn't get to exist. Like, I would rather it exist, and I appreciate that it exists, but my biggest issue with the Backrooms was the score. I was expecting an insane score, and maybe that wasn't fair, but just so much good liminal, like, music exists. I hear it on TikTok everywhere else, and, it's like, oh, well, you just want a bunch of TikTok songs. No, but we got some okay music. I don't know, I just had really high hopes, because movies like Obsession, which were made on a way cheaper budget, had an awesome score. So I was like, if this movie had a better score, would probably go really high. I can't lie. Because I feel like music is very important when it comes to looking at Backrooms things. Maybe that's just me, but I love the Backrooms property. In the movie, I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. So I think it's going to go in I'm Split. I've only seen it once, though, and I imagine the more times I watch it, the more things I notice, it might go up. I don't think it'll ever be an Obsessed, but I'm Split I think is pretty fair. I think it is a very solid movie, and it was his debut. So, I mean, it's not like I expected the guy to be perfect. So The Backrooms, not a bad movie, and if you love The Backrooms, you'll probably like this movie. But if you don't like The Backrooms and you don't know what it is, I don't know how people will feel about it, but I like the Backrooms property. I thought the movie was pretty good. It goes into I'm Split. Now we move on to the most recent one I've seen, which was Megan. I've not seen Megan 2. I've only heard bad things about Megan 2, so I wasn't like wanting to go out of my way for Megan 2, but I've heard that Megan was like one of those movies that you just gotta see. And I went into it and I'm like, it's like, wow, it's only PG-13? I really thought it was gonna be like R. I really did, with how much the horror community loves the first Megan. And I went in, and I gotta say, I get it. It kind of reminds me of Jurassic Park a little bit. We're basically following, we start off with this little girl, and her parents die. So then she gets adopted by her aunt, who is like a techno whiz. And at some point, the little girl was like really sad, and she's like, I just wish I had a doll or I just wish I had a toy that would always be there with me and love me and blah blah blah. And she was like, okay. And she was already kind of working on Megan, and then they had some issues, but I'm not gonna rely on spoilers too much. Anyway, so she makes Megan, and you could say that Megan might have been a little bit too good of a toy. And Megan does some things that I actually was fine with, you know. Let's just say a kid might have made Megan mad. But I actually really like this movie, and I'm kind of upset that I waited so long to see it, because I feel like if I watch it a couple of times, it would probably be an obsessed. Right now it's going in Mikey Likey, but it's close to obsessed. It was a really good movie. I'd love to rewatch it. I thought even though it was PG-13, it still was relatively scary. Relatively. I know my girlfriend was like, how's this not rated R? And I'm like, well, it's not like super gory, so it doesn't get that rating. And I guess they wanted a younger audience to be able to watch this, which I appreciate. That means more ages can appreciate Megan, and I can see why it's such a loved movie. It's really good. But I'm going to try and be a little bit critical today and not put everything in obsessed, because I love a lot of these movies. Speaking of, the name of the top, we have Obsession. This might be Blumhouse's best movie. This movie, I mean, the box office speaks for it, but everyone's talked about this movie to high heaven. We all know this movie's fantastic. You hear it, you still hear people talking about it. This movie was made for $750,000. The score amazing, the plot amazing. It was terrifying. I honestly, all I felt was like dread and anxiety the whole time. And if a movie can make you feel an emotion that much and that often, probably pretty well done. But Obsession's an amazing movie. Basic plot: guy named Bear has a crush on a coworker named Nikki. He goes to a store to get her a gift, and then he settles for a one-wish willow, which he doesn't even end up giving to her. He ends up snapping himself in a moment of like being upset, and he's like, I wish Nikki loved me more than anything else in the world. Snap. And she sure does, but it isn't really her. It's like a demon-ish thing inside of her, whereas Nikki is trapped inside of her own body while Bear is dating this monster. It's a very good movie, very effective. This is going to be an all-timer. It's going to be a classic, and it's the first movie in a long time that I feel like the horror community can all agree that this one's going to be... we're going to be talking about this one for a long time. Now we have Drop. Drop is a fine movie. The basic plot is this girl's on a date with a guy, and her kid's at home, and a murderer, I guess you can say, is like texting her, and he's like, yo, if you don't kill the guy you're on a date with, we're gonna kill your kid. And you basically spend the whole movie with her being in the restaurant and like looking at her cameras, and then, you know, it's not really a movie for me. Maybe, I don't know, I didn't think it was that good. Like, I don't think I'd ever rewatch it again. Like, I'm actually gonna put this movie Dropped. I thought it was fine. I thought the premise was fine. I think it was very, like, cheaply made, which, you know, work with what you got. I didn't think the acting was that convincing. I wasn't really that into it. It's not a horror movie I ever will probably revisit. But I was like, it's fine. it's fine. Like, if someone watched it, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's the worst movie ever. But it was fine, so. Now we have Speak No Evil. And this is one I saw in theaters a couple years ago. I don't remember if it came out in 2024 or 2025. And I actually really liked it. We're basically following this American family. I want to say they're like on vacation. Either they're on vacation or they're just out to eat, and they meet James McAvoy's character, and he basically invites them out to his like land, his house, and it's in another country, and you learn a lot of sinister things about them. They're all trapped. They want to leave, but they can't. This movie is honestly a lot of fun. I would probably say Mikey Likey. I actually think I enjoyed it more than I'm Split. I thought it was a very good movie. I don't remember every little detail. It's been a couple of years. Some of these were one-time watches, and some of these I have not seen in a long time. But Speak No Evil, pretty solid movie, pretty solid thriller. I would go check it out. Now we have Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And I am a massive Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I want that to be known. I love the games. I've seen all the games played. I have Funko Pops of them back there. I think FNAF is awesome. However, this movie is not very well written. It looks really good. The animatronics look great. The sets look great. The plot is a real nothing burger. And it just feels like they're just building it up to be the next, the Five Nights at Freddy's 3. And they basically turned Mike into just not a character, which really bothered me, because the first Five Nights at Freddy's, he was the focus. It had a lot of fun Easter eggs. As a FNAF fan, I did catch all of them. There's just a lot of material they could have used, and they didn't. And the basic plot is we're following Mike's little sister. She gets a little toy thingy, and basically the animatronics are calling her back, but it's not like actually the animatronics that she's friends with. And then she eventually gets taken, and blah blah blah. It was disappointing. It looked cool. I'm happy it exists as a FNAF fan, but I don't think it was. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who doesn't know like every little bit of lore about FNAF. Like, if I watched this with like all my friends who know every little bit about it, it'd probably be somewhat enjoyable. But it's just not much of a plot, and it's a step down from the first movie. Now we have Us. Us is a lot of fun. I really like Us. What Us is we're basically just following this family. They are going on vacation near where the mother had a traumatic childhood experience, which is kind of the whole plot of the movie. And basically, while they're on vacation, a whole doppelganger family of them are hunting them, just like the rest of the world. So everyone is being chased by their doppelgangers. So we get to follow this family, try to escape their doppelgangers, and it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this movie. It is one of the top 10 highest grossing domestic box office movies, I do believe. And I think it deserves it. I think it's a little bit lower in Obsessed, but I really like this movie. I've rewatched it numerous times, and I don't have any issues with it. On my top 10 horror movies all time, I did put this one on here over Get Out. I would probably switch that now. I really like both those movies, but I think Get Out's a little bit better. So, you know, older videos, older me, on a whim, may have said something wrong. But Us is a great movie. I would go check it out. It's a lot of fun. Now we have the first Five Nights at Freddy's. This one, honestly, is a lot better. We're basically following Mike, and he's just dreaming every night about his little brother who was taken, and he's trying to figure out where he is, I guess. And every night he goes to sleep, like, thinking about it. And eventually he gets a job for the guy who took his brother a long time ago. He gets a job at Freddy's, and he works as a security guard. And a lot of people have issues with this movie because, like, he ends up being like the animatronics aren't really the bad guys for the most part. I mean, they do some things, but they were like, oh, you made the animatronics just like they're a lot of fun and fun to hang out with. And I guess people had issues with that. I thought it was a lot of fun. I actually seen this movie twice in theaters because one of my other friends wanted to see it, and I'd already seen it, and I'm like, I'll go with you. So I'm quite fond of the first Five Nights at Freddy's. I'd give it Mikey Likey. We also got, you know, some awesome FNAF music in there. It actually had a cohesive plot, unlike the second one. The animatronics also looked good. I think they probably look better in the second one, but the writing was 5 times better in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Now we have I'll do the black phone first instead of the black phone 2. I don't know why I got ordered like that, but... So the black phone, we are following this kid, and he gets taken by the bad guy known as the Grabber. And the Grabber puts him in the back of his van, and then he gets stuck in a basement. And basically this guy just kidnaps kids and kills them. So while he's stuck in this basement, he's getting phone calls from the spirits of the other kids on this black telephone on the wall. And this movie, as simple as that plot sounds, is a lot of fun. If you somehow haven't seen The Black Phone, you need to go watch it. This movie is fan-frickin-tastic. Obsessed. Now we have The Black Phone 2, which I didn't really understand how we were going to get a Black Phone 2, given that, you know, how the first one ends. But it actually was pretty good. It's basically going back to the roots of how, like, the Grabber knew, I guess, the kid's mom, I believe is what it is. So now this one takes place with the kids all at this campground where the Grabber, like, originated. And I don't remember how he got him there exactly, but he gets in there somehow. But this time he is kind of like Freddy Krueger. He's like in the dream world, and he's like attacking them in their dreams. But he's just like invisible unless he is like attacking you. It's the only time you're seeing him. I thought this movie was a lot of fun. I thought it was really good. Some people even like it more than the first one. I think it's a little bit worse, but it's still like a good movie. Like, I would still watch both of these back to back and not have an issue. So The Black Phone 2, a lot of fun. I got to see it in theaters. Thought it was a pretty good time. Now we have Glass, which is the follow-up to Split. And this one is interesting. It basically just reveals that the bad guy from Split and a couple others, like Glass, who is another character, are like superhumans. Like, they have superpowers. So this one's a little bit less like a horror movie, in my opinion, and it's more like a superhero thriller type thing going on, which I really enjoyed it, but I don't think it's near as memorable, and I don't think it's as good as Split. So I'm going to put Glass into I'm Split. The Hunt. The Hunt is a fun movie. It's basically just following, like, wealthy, elite, rich people just hunting normal, like, Americans. They kidnap them, and they hunt them. Basic plot of it. And I thought that premise was a lot of fun. I actually really liked this movie. I actually put this one in my top 10 horror movies, because I just thought it's just so easy to understand what's going on, and it's a lot of fun, and you got a main character you can root for. So The Hunt, for me, I'm a big fan of The Hunt. I think it's a lot of fun. Now we have Ma. And I'm relatively high on this movie too, I think, compared to some people. But it's still not going to be, like, super high. We're basically following this woman who I think she was, like, the weird kid that was always bullied, and she wants to fit in. So basically she starts, like, hanging out with these teenagers, inviting them over, giving them alcohol. And eventually they start getting mad at her because she's being weird. And then she starts killing people. So this movie is a lot of fun. Like, as I said, I don't really hate any of these movies on here. I think Ma is a very solid movie. I don't think it's anything crazy, but you just get to watch, you know, killer weird old lady. So I'd say I'm Split. I think it's closer to Mikey Likey than it is I Dare You to be a better movie. So now we have Happy Death Day to You, which is the follow-up to Happy Death Day. So in this movie, we basically follow Tree, and she finds out that it was her friend's, like, machine that got her stuck in the time loop, and then that machine malfunctions. It sends her to a parallel universe where her mom is still alive, but her boyfriend is dating another chick, and that's a problem for her. So basically, she just has to keep dying and dying over and over until they and her friends and her can fix this machine and go back to her universe. I actually enjoyed Happy Death Day to You. I thought it was actually a solid follow-up. I didn't think it was necessary, but, you know, it's fun watching her die over and over and over as they try and figure it out. It kind of reminds me of ReZero, which is an anime I like. Now we have Truth or Dare. And this might be a controversial take, as always. I always have to have one, I feel like. This is like one of the movies that people consider like Blumhouse's worst. And it's been a while since I've seen it, but I've seen it a couple times whenever I was younger, and I never really had an issue with it. It's a very simple plot. They're playing truth or dare, and a lot of drama starts, and then, you know, they have to start hurting each other, have to hurt themselves. I actually don't. I'm not gonna put it in the very bottom one. I thought it was a fine movie, and I didn't know it was as hated as it was until I went on the internet, and I'm like, oh, so people don't like this? Okay. Now we have Happy Death Day, the first one, and this one is also very good. We're basically following Tree, and she is just getting killed by a guy in a mask over and over and over, and her whole goal is to live. She has to live, and then she gets to get out of that loop. This movie also, as you can tell, I'm describing it very basically, but these movies are a lot better than how I'm describing them. So if you haven't seen these movies, I would go watch them, and you might get a better understanding of what's going on. But I'd say Happy Death Day is also in the same tier, but it's better than the second one. Not by a lot, but now we have Split, and this one is, in my opinion, a lot better than Glass. So we're following James McAvoy again, and he's basically this like crazy guy who has a whole bunch of split personalities, and he kidnaps someone. And some personalities are nice, and some personalities are kind of rude, some personalities are weird. And I believe there's just one personality that's just like a straight up the kidnapper, the murderer, all that. And I really like this movie. It's been a while since I've seen it. I think I'm willing to put it here. I said, it's been a while since I've seen it. Some of these are due for a rewatch. Maybe on rewatch I put it higher or lower. Just depends. But I really like Split. The like one time I got to see it. It was a lot of fun. Now we have Hush. This is like one of those Netflix movies I think everyone's seen. We're basically following this like deaf author in her house in like the middle of the woods. And there's just a masked guy outside her house trying to kill her. Very simple plot. Very effective. I think this movie is a very solid thriller slasher, and it's a very like entry-level horror movie in my opinion. I feel like if you're like new to horror, this would be something I would recommend. Very like solid movie. I don't think it does anything like super impressive, but I don't think it's unwatchable. I think it's a pretty solid movie. Now you have Get Out, and Get Out is phenomenal. This was Jordan Peele's directorial debut. I'm pretty sure this was his first one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this was his first one. It was this or Us, but I'm pretty sure it was this. And we're basically following this guy who's going to meet his girlfriend's parents. And her parents, along with a lot of other like rich white people, basically just buy and brainwash African American people and basically just make them as their servants. Because they know like tricks to send you into like the sunken place where you just cannot control your own body. You're just stuck down there and you have to watch everything going on, and it is not you. And basically, he's just trying to get out. And this movie is awesome. Get Out's fantastic. Creep. Creep is like a cult classic for a lot of people. A lot of people love this movie. We're basically just following this guy. He gets called out to record this other guy, the weirdo. I don't remember his name. And basically he just starts acting really, really weird. He does a lot of weird stuff. It's a very like uncomfortable, kind of funny movie. And for me, I think it's also just very middle of the road. It's got some fun to it. And I think it's just a fine movie. You know, some people probably love it. Some people may not like it at all. I'm kind of in the middle where I'm like, Creep's a solid movie. Now we have Sinister 2. Not the first one. The first one's right next to it. So Sinister 2. A lot of people hate Sinister 2. And I believe the reason for that is we kind of take away a little bit of the mystery, and you spend a lot of time with like the kids, and Bagul isn't like near as like mysterious and all that lovely stuff. So a lot of people don't like Sinister 2. The one time I watched it, I thought it was a fine movie. Like I'm also in the middle on Sinister 2. A lot of people would say it's like terrible and it's unwatchable, and I don't think that. Do I think it's as good as the first one? No. But I don't think it's bad either. So Sinister 2 is going to be I'm split. That may be controversial. I don't know. I'll figure out in the comments. But I didn't hate Sinister 2. And now we have the first Sinister. And this movie is awesome too. So basically we're following Ethan Hawke, and he is like another author. They love their authors in the horror universes. He's like a horror author, and he used to be a big shot, but now he's kind of falling off. So he moves his family into a literal murder house to get like inspiration, I guess. And he goes up to the attic and he sees these tapes of families just getting murdered. And that turns into a whole big ordeal. This movie's awesome. It's scary. And that's probably why people were so disappointed with Sinister 2, because this one is such a good movie. It's going in obsessed. Sinister is such an awesome movie, despite, the very ending being kind of dumb, but it's after the movie's over. So Sinister is a great movie. Go watch it. It's pretty scary, though. We have Halloween Ends. Man, this one's a mess. So basically, Mike's hurt. Mikey got hurt, and he's like hiding down the sewer, and our protagonist, I don't remember his name, he accidentally like killed a kid a long time ago, and a lot of people do not like him for this. And I am kind of doing this off of my head, so if I'm wrong, correct me, but I'm pretty sure this is what happens. And basically, he's just like an outcast, nobody likes him, and he runs into Michael Myers, and he basically becomes Michael Myers' like apprentice, and he basically brings people to Mike, so Mike can kill them and get stronger. And this is basically where Michael Myers and Laurie have their final like send off, their last match, whatever. I thought it was fine. A lot of people don't like it at all. I think there's some fun to be had with it. So for me, I'm kind of split. I think it's not a good movie, but I don't think it's a bad movie either. I think it's just in the middle of the road, pretty solid movie. Now we have Unfriended. The basic plot of Unfriended is there's like a group of like 6 friends, and they're on like a Skype call, and they're being haunted by the ghost of, I believe it was their friend who either was a friend or someone they bullied, who offed herself. I guess I'll say that. I don't know how YouTube feels about the bad. But they're being haunted by the ghost of their dead friend, and this leads to a whole lot of chaos. And you find out a whole lot of things about the friend group and what ultimately caused their friend to off herself, and all these lovely things. I haven't seen Unfriended the Dark Web. I've heard good things about that. But I think Unfriended's a pretty solid movie. I believe it was also one I watched on Netflix. Now we have Halloween Kills. This one's just following the first Halloween for 2018, where, he escapes the flames, and he's just going out there trying to kill people, and obviously go after Laurie again. This is a lot of people's favorite in this trilogy, the modern trilogy, and I think it's pretty solid. Like, I think it's better than Halloween Ends. It's got a lot of fun kills. I couldn't really tell you how the plot goes, though. I don't even really remember, so it wasn't that memorable, but I remember enjoying, like, just watching Mike kill people. So, and now we have Halloween for 2018, which I also thought was pretty good. I believe this starts off with Laurie finding out that he gets out of, like, the asylum or wherever he was, and she's just starting to get prepared to fight Michael Myers again. And I thought this movie was better than Kills, but I wouldn't say it was a huge step up. Now we have all the Purge movies. Okay. So I believe that is the first Purge. No, the Forever Purge? Which one is that? Okay, I think that's the first Purge. The second newest one. And I could not really... It's been a long time since I've seen the first Purge. Basically what this one's about is the NFAA, or the NFFA, it like promised financial incentives for people to participate in the Purge. But I guess a lot of people weren't interested, so they basically sent out a bunch of mercenaries to get them. I don't remember a lot about this movie. I'll be honest. I had to look up like a basic synopsis about it, because I seen it once, and I was like, it's another Purge movie. So for me, this one's probably the least memorable one to me, so I dare you to make a better movie. That's where I'm at. Purge Election Year. I love Purge Election Year. Basically, we're following, I believe, this guy who owns a shop who's shutting it down, and he's basically like helping save a governor who is promising to end the Purge. This is also the one where the NFFA say that you can assassinate high elite people, which in the first 2 movies was not allowed. So I also thought that was a pretty good plot. So now the governor we're following is having to up her security detail, and she's got a lot of people looking for her. And this one's my favorite. I'm very fond of Purge election year. Sorry if my explanation of it's a little bit sloppy. It's been a long time since I've watched the Purge movies. They all kind of blend together in my mind, so I'm doing my best here. But Purge election year is one I rewatched the most, and I think this one's got like my favorite cast. So now we have what I believe is the Forever Purge. And this one's basically the one that takes place down by the border. And it has Cassidy Freeman in it, who was in Longmire, so I was a little bit more interested in this one. I remember thinking it was pretty solid. I think it's better than the first Purge, so I'd probably give it I'm split. Nothing to write home about. Now we have Purge Anarchy, and this is one we basically expand past just the one house thing. We get to follow multiple groups and see how they try to survive the Purge. And I also thought this one was pretty good too. So I would probably put Mikey Likey for the Purge Anarchy. The first Purge takes place, and we're following like this wealthy family in like a gated neighborhood, and basically they take in this guy who's being hunted. So that ends up being this family's problem, and basically there's a whole lot of people out in the streets trying to get in and get this guy, and inevitably probably try to kill his family too. I thought this was a nice introduction to the Purge. I think all 3 of these were pretty good. I think after that we kind of lost the plot. Now we have all the Insidious movies. I'm going to go in order because I have them exactly backwards. So starting with the first Insidious. So how the first one works is the son basically falls asleep into like a coma, and they have like a psychic come over, and she basically explains that he is astral projecting, and she basically just helps them find him. So the dad basically has to figure out how to do this, and basically he's just trying to go to like this dark place called the Further to save his son. I think this one was an awesome kickoff to the series. I think the first Insidious is very good. It's going in Mikey Likey. Then we get to Insidious Chapter 2. And we're basically, the family's trying to cope with Josh being back. But it turns out he didn't come back alone. He brought the bride in black with him. So Josh is not all good in the hood. So basically the whole family, along with the psychic, is trying to figure out the origins of the bride in black and how to banish her. I didn't think this one was bad, but I don't really remember it that well. So if it's not that memorable, I don't know if I could just say Mikey Likey. Then we get to the third one, and this one takes place before the first 2 movies, and we're basically following the backstory of the psychic. And then while she is like retired, because she was retired, she goes to help a teenager, help her find her mom, essentially. And this ends up attracting a bad spirit, so then you get to see her fight this one off. I think Insidious Chapter 3 was better than the second one. Now we get to Insidious The Last Key. And this one also follows the backstory of Elise. So this one follows Elise, and basically she's called back to her family's home, where she used to live, and she has to help this new family fight off the spirits that are kind of haunting the place. This one also is kind of not memorable to me. These are the 2 I forget the most, that like the basic plot of them. And last but not least, we have Insidious The Red Door. And this one's set 9 years after the last movie. We're basically following Dalton, who is college-aged. He's in college. And Josh. And they're basically having memories of, like, all this crap that went down all these years ago. So to combat this, they basically decide they're going to team up, head into the Further to find the Red Door, which is why it's called Insidious The Red Door, and, like, basically free their traumatic past and face these demons head on. A lot of people didn't like Insidious The Red Door. I went and saw it in theaters, which does typically give me a more positive experience. I thought Insidious Red Door was fine. Like, a lot of people didn't like Insidious The Red Door and said it was like the worst in the franchise, but I remember that one better than I remember the other 2. Granted, it's the only one I've seen in theaters, but I thought this one was actually pretty decent, and I'm relatively positive on the Insidious franchise as a whole. But yeah, I believe this is, I think I'm pretty happy with this list. So this is my ranking of every Blumhouse movie I've seen. Some of these could move up and down, and You know, it just depends on the day. But how I'm feeling right now, I'm relatively positive. Only 4 of them didn't even make it to like the 50-50, so I wouldn't like go out of my way to recommend these 4 unless you're like a huge FNAF fan. But yeah, let me know what your favorite Blumhouse movie is. I appreciate you watching this. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one.